When Disney bought Star Wars in 2012, fans had two reactions: cautious excitement and absolute panic. And fair enough, George Lucas had built a universe like no other, and letting someone else steer the ship felt like rewriting sacred text. Since then, Disney's track record has been mixed. Some moments have united fans, others not so much. But here's the thing, not everything Disney did was wrong. In fact, some of the things they got right were areas where even George Lucas, for all his genius, struggled. And if we really want to understand what Star Wars is, and what it can be, we need to look at both legacies. Welcome to Kybercore. Nothing has been more unbalanced than the Star Wars fanbase since Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, fueled significantly by their sequel trilogy, ending in 2019 with Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. George Lucas created the Star Wars galaxy, but Disney get to live in it. This video isn't about bashing George Lucas or blindingly praising Disney. It's about being honest. So, what has Disney got right? Let's break it down. Say what you will about Disney's approach, but they made Star Wars accessible again. The prequels were ambitious. They redefined what world building could be. But they were also heavy, layered with trade disputes, ancient prophecies, and dialogue that often needed decoding. For some older fans, it was messy. For some new ones, it could feel like homework. Disney took a different route. The Force Awakens didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It introduced simple stakes. A stormtrooper with a conscience, a scavenger discovering her power, a galaxy searching for hope. And while long-time fans debated originality, a younger generation finally got their accessible entry point. A Star Wars that moved fast, looked great, and felt fun. It was a soft reboot, not a bold expansion, but it worked. Because before you can dive deep into the Force, you have to care about the galaxy at all. As referenced already, Lucas is a world builder, a visionary. But when it comes to writing natural dialogue, even his biggest defenders admit, it's not his strength. There's a stiffness to conversations in the prequels that often undersells the emotional stakes. The infamous "I don't like sand" line isn't bad because of what it says, but how it's said. Disconnected, more about plot than emotion. And that's not a fault of Hayden Christensen, but more the direction he was guided in. Now look at The Force Awakens. Finn and Poe bantering in a TIE fighter during their escape. Rey and Finn meeting for the first time on Jakku. Han and Leia's bittersweet reunion. There's a natural rhythm. Awkward, warm, layered. That makes these characters feel real. That's something Disney's casting and dialogue nailed from the start. There's a relational chemistry. The performances feel grounded, and that's something Lucas often sacrificed in service of the story. The argument lies, however, in if you feel the tone of Star Wars should resemble the human elements we experience on Earth or not. When included, the heist team in Andor, or Venestra's travel sickness in The Acolyte, it can take away from the magic of Star Wars, and George for one never intended for this in his work. Another thing Disney nailed, however, was representation. Lucas made a galaxy of aliens, but Disney made a galaxy that finally looked like ours. Whether you think Star Wars should look like our own or not, for many this was a changing point. We saw women leading missions, stormtroopers questioning orders, and more people of colour in major roles. And yes, stories should have gone deeper for some, but for a franchise that at one point only gave us Lando, this was progress. Lucas primarily made 6 films. Disney opened the galaxy. With Clone Wars ending, it was Disney that brought Star Wars to streaming and made The Mandalorian a global hit. They embraced Lucas's animation, tried new tones, and opened doors for creators like Dave Filoni to drive new projects. For better or worse, Star Wars became a platform, not just a trilogy. Disney has stretched Star Wars into new genres, often with success. Rogue One is a gritty war film with zero Jedi and real stakes. Andor is basically a political thriller with unique pacing. The Mandalorian, a western in space. Even Visions, with its anime-style experimentation, opens up creative doors we've never seen before in Star Wars. Disney took the brand and pushed its stylistic limits. That kind of risk is rare in big franchises, and when it works, it shows Star Wars can be more than one thing. The galaxy is big enough for more than just Jedi versus Sith, and nothing proves this more than Rogue One. Regarded as being Disney's strongest Star Wars project, as a film, it more than lives up to the standards of episodes 1 to 6, and became the first Star Wars project to feature no Jedi. This was of course helped by the presence of Darth Vader, but even if he was never written in, interesting characters were developed nonetheless. Jyn Erso, director Krennic, and Chirrut spring to mind. The issue is, the wars between Jedi and Sith in the Force are what fuels Star Wars at its core, and it's been 6 years now since the Skywalker saga concluded, and we still have no real confirmation on where Disney's next main focus will be to expand these stories in their canon. Darth Talon? Darth Plagueis? It's something they need to sort out, and soon. Some of you watching may not want to believe it, but Disney have improved the Star Wars brand in some aspects. One overlooked strength? Disney understood the business of fandom. Celebration events, Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars publishing, they turned Star Wars into something you could live, wear, visit, and stream. It's not just an IP, it's identity. And while George resisted over-commercialization, Disney leaned into it and built the more modern fan experience. And they did it in a clever way. George's content focused on key characters and their importance to the overall story. Disney, on the other hand, have cracked open that philosophy, popularising what, in relation to the Skywalker saga, can be viewed as side characters through their place in Disney Plus series. Bringing characters like Bo-Katan, Cad Bane, Ahsoka, and Saw Gerrera into live action has elevated them to become fully realised outside of the main films. Merchandise for Star Wars is their constant goldmine, and we've seen this in the characters they've introduced in recent years. BB-8 and Grogu are the standouts, and what makes them so special to Disney, their appeal to young children. Disney are typically quiet on sales figures, but sources suggest that last year the company generated $1 billion USD from merchandise alone. What Disney have told us is that the $4 billion they invested on Lucasfilm back in 2012 has generated $12 billion back, and that's despite all the backlash and declining box office numbers in that time. To put it simply, that is huge. The irony to all this? Disney did so many things right, but forgot what made Star Wars timeless. They mastered the surface, but struggled with the soul. Star Wars was always about myth, not content. And while Lucas may have overprovided with lore, Disney sometimes underthought the story, which George himself was the master of. The rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, Palpatine's manipulation of the Clone Wars, and the redemption arc of Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. Storytelling on this level was missing across Disney's sequel trilogy, and a lack of consistency throughout the films was evident. Lucas built the galaxy, Disney opened the gates, and if the future of Star Wars is going to work, it needs both vision and scale, soul and spectacle, because only when the Force is balanced does Star Wars truly come alive. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Kybercore so you never miss another Star Wars video, and let me know your thoughts below.